Very good morning, students. Welcome back to online session on programming for problem solving course. In our previous session, we started the flow charting concept. So we defined what is a flow chart and what are the different types of symbols we were having inside a flow chart. That also we have discussed, and we have also seen the first type of symbols, standardized symbols, which we have used inside a flowchart, that is the auxiliary symbols. So when we discussed about this term auxiliary, we said these auxiliary is the meaning of this auxiliary is supporting, okay, standing behind and supporting. And I gave a real time example of a boxing match where a boxing player, okay, whenever a round will complete, some of the people, they will stand behind and they will encourage these boxing players, even though they are not participating in the match, but they are giving support by standing behind. So we can call those players as auxiliary players because they are simply standing behind and they are supporting the team member. So in that same way, the auxiliary symbols in your flowcharting concept, these symbols, they are not going to hold any statement or any command inside the flowchart. Rather, they are used, these auxiliary symbols, they are used to decorate the flowchart, okay, to provide some enhanced look to your flowchart. We use these auxiliary symbols. We said we have I think three different types of auxiliary symbols. The first one is the terminal, then flow lines, and the last one is the connectors. Okay, the purpose of using these auxiliary symbols, the three different symbols, we discussed in details. For what purpose we are using the terminal, for what purpose we are using the flow lines, and for what purpose we are using the connectors. Each of these things I have explained in detail with example. Okay, so quickly in today's session, we'll move forward, we'll move ahead, and we will see what concepts we have to discuss. Okay, so the program development steps we were discussing, and in that the flow charting concept, flow chart concept. So quickly, if I move to that slide, the pseudocode we discussed, then the flow chart. This flow charting we have started, and we said a flowchart is nothing but it is the diagrammatic representation of the algorithm. It is the design of an algorithm, or it is a picture of the algorithm. Whatever steps we have taken inside the algorithm, simply those steps, if you show with suitable standardized symbols, graphical symbols, we call that diagram, we call that chart as a flow chart. Okay, so yes, we said we have two different types of symbols inside a flow chart, that is auxiliary symbols and primary symbols. So auxiliary symbols, these three: terminal, flow lines, and connectors. We discussed each of these. Like terminals, we said to start a flow chart and to end a flow chart. If it is a main flow chart, then we put whenever we are creating these terminals, inside the terminal we put label. Like for starting a flowchart, we put the label start inside the terminal, and to stop a flowchart we put stop inside a terminal if it is the main flowchart, or if it is a subordinate flowchart, like if it is a module flowchart, or if it is a function flowchart, then we simply put the last terminal symbol as return. Okay, so the third type of the second type of auxiliary symbol, the flow lines, it is used to connect the different symbols inside your flow chart. So we said the start symbol will not have any entry lines and only one exit line, and the stop symbol, the stop terminal, will have only one entry point and no exit lines. So like this we discussed about flow lines. Then the connectors, we said connectors we use for two different purposes: whenever we are reaching the end of the page, and whenever it is whenever inside control structure or in a block of statements, if it is too difficult to represent the entire thing at that place, simply will take the help of these connectors and will draw that squeezed flow chart separately on a separate paper, so that the reading people are, so that the referring people can have the understanding of that flow chart. So in that way, these connectors are helpful. Simply how we are representing a connector, inside a circle you have to put the number. So by reading that number, one can get the understanding where exactly he has to go, or where exactly he has to look for the remaining flow chart. Because connector will act as the continuation point. Inside your flow chart, connector will act like a continuation point. So then the next category of symbol here, it has to come like 2, but yeah, it is giving the numbering as 1. The second type of symbols, that is primary symbols. Okay, so what primary symbols we have, in the sense, inside these primary symbols again we have the subcategorization. Okay, inside this primary symbol, uh, yes, we have the sequence symbol. The first category inside primary symbols is the sequence symbol. Then we have the decision or condition symbols. Then we have the iterative, repetition, or looping symbols. First one, sequence, decision or condition, condition statement, then iterative, repetition, or looping statements. So three different types of symbols we have inside this primary symbol category. So one by one, we need to discuss all these three. First, we go with sequence, then we discuss about decision making, finally the repetition process. So at the time of algorithms discussion, over there also we discussed three categories of algorithms. The sequential algorithms, where all statements will be considered sequentially. Decision making, based on the condition, there is a possibility that few statements will be skipped. If you want to skip, you have to go for, if you want to skip the statements, you have to go for decision making, that is conditional statements. And if you want to repeat a particular statement for more than once, then we have to go for iterative statements, that is nothing but looping or repetition. Hopefully you understood. Then the first category of primary symbol, that is sequence symbol. Again, under this sequence symbol we have different types of sequence symbols, because sequence symbols, when we are saying, they will be executed only once, without skipping, without repetition. They will be executed exactly once. That's the reason we are calling these symbols as the sequence symbols. Sequence symbols are used to represent actions that must be performed in a linear order. There is no repetition, there is no jumping, nothing like that. There is no skipping like that. So when we are talking about sequence symbols, all actions represented by these sequence symbols will be performed in a linear order. Okay, to these symbols, the flow must enter at the top of the symbol and flow must exit at the bottom of the symbol. How the flow will enter? Only once the flow will enter into that symbol, and only once the flow will exit from that symbol. Remember this one, as it is sequential, as their execution will be linear, we are not going to have more than one entry points and more than one exit points to these sequence symbols. They will have exactly one entry point and exactly one exit point. So that means only one entry flow line and only one exit flow line. Likewise, you have to remember. And entry flow line, it will always come at the top of the symbol, and exit flow line, it will always go from the bottom of the symbol. Okay, they do not allow any flow change. This is very, very important. This understanding is very, very important. Flow change in the sense, uh, like skipping the statements, repeating the statement. If you are skipping the statements, or if you are repeating the statements, or if you are changing the flow, so generally the flow will be sequential. All statements, as long as you don't have, if you don't have any control structures, the flow of your program will be sequential like this. Okay, it will be sequential. I mean, because of some reason, if your path gets deviated like this, okay, if your path gets deviated, we call this as change in flow. Because you are coming to this point, and over here you are making a decision whether you want to go in this way or whether you want to go in this way. So this is how we do this one, in the sense, with the help of decision making statements, conditional statements. And there is another one, the repetition like this. The control will come down and it will go back again, and come down again, it will go back like this. What it is doing? It is doing the repetition. It is doing the execution of whatever statements you put over here. What will happen with these statements? They will be executed more than once. Okay, because the control is going back after executing these statements. Whatever statements you kept over here, from here to here, after executing those statements, what is happening? The control is going back and again executing, and again considering those statements, and again executing those statements. Okay, so these sort of thing we call it as iterative statements or repetitive statements, okay, or looping statements. Different names we have to them. Okay, we call them as iterative, repetitive, or we also call them as looping. These are sequential, no change of flow, so we call them as sequential, linear flow. And this is conditional only. Okay, based on some condition over here, we can put a condition. Based on that condition, either you can go in this way or you can go in this way. Okay, I will give you more clarity. If that condition is true, we'll select this path, or if that condition is false, we'll select this path. So whenever we are considering a condition, for that condition only two possibilities we will have. Either that condition will become true or that condition will become false. Okay, let us take an example of the condition. So in order to vote for the elections, inside the election, in order to cast your vote in the elections, your age must be greater than 18 years. Your age must be greater than 18 years. So for this condition, whenever you select a person, okay, some random person, okay, either his age is going to be less than 18 years or his age is going to be greater than or equals to 18 years. So the possibility over there, whenever you are selecting a random person, the possibility over there is either that condition will become true or that condition will become false based on the person's age. If the person age is less than 18 years, then the condition, whatever condition we have selected, like 18 years is must to cast the vote. If the person's age is below 18 years, then that condition will become false. Or if the person's age is above 18 years, then that condition will become true. So based on that condition's behavior, either we will select the true path or we will select the false path. Likewise, so these are conditional or decision making statements. Decision making statements, we call them as decision making statements or conditional statements. Conditional statements, decision making or conditional statements. These are sequential statements, and these are iterative, repetitive, or looping statements. Hope you understood. So we are now studying about these sequential symbols. Okay, we are studying about this sequential symbol category. So inside that we have the null statement, we have the assignment statement, input output statement, module call, and compound statement. So these 5 types of sequential statements we have. So the first one is null statement. Null statement in the sense no operation you are performing. You're not performing any operation. Null statement means simply it represents nothing. Whenever we are saying null in our programming, whatever programming language it may be your C language, C++, Java, SQL, whenever we have null, whenever you are saying null, null means nothing, void, completely empty. Okay, and if you are saying, because whenever, okay, over here we are saying null statement. So generally what a statement, a particular statement will represent, whenever we are saying a statement, what does it means? A statement in your program will perform some kind of activity. Okay, a statement in the program or inside the algorithm, it will perform some kind of activity. So there are cases, there are possibilities when you are writing the algorithm or when you are writing the program, you want to tell the compiler to do nothing. Okay, you have to tell the compiler, or you want to tell the compiler to do nothing. So in that case, we use this null statement. So wherever you want the compiler not to perform anything, simply put that null statement over there. Okay, a null statement means what? It represents nothing, no action to be performed. Okay, very simple understanding. So how this null statement can be represented, in the sense we don't have any special symbol because we are not performing any action over there. We don't have any special symbol to represent this null statement. It is just a flow line, a continuity line like this. It is just a flow line. Will not put any symbol over there, will not perform any action over there whenever we represent a null statement. So it is simply a flow line. Remember this one. Okay, next category of symbol is assignment symbol. So whenever you are assigning some value to the variable, or some value to some expression, evaluated value to some variable, there we have to use this assignment symbol or assignment statement. So how we represent an assignment statement in our flowchart, in the sense with a rectangular box, like this. See this one. This rectangular box will represent the assignment statement. Okay, so when we have to use this assignment statement in our flowchart, in the sense whenever you want to show the assignment operation, inside the flowchart, we have to use this assignment statement. Okay, simply inside that rectangular box, what we do means, whatever variable is receiving the values, will put that variable on the left hand side, and whatever expression or value you are assigning to that variable, we put that thing at the right hand side. And in between those two, in between the value and the variable, will put an arrow mark, and that arrow mark will show the flow of data from the value. The value will be sent to the variable. So the arrow mark pointing in this direction. So over here, this expression or value, you can even put the value over here. This value or the expression, in what direction it moves, in this direction it moves, and finally that thing will be stored inside this variable. So remember this one, assignment symbol. Whenever you perform some assignment of value inside your flowchart, we have to use this assignment statement. So the next statement, the input output statement. So to represent this input output operation inside your flowchart, we use a parallelogram. Okay, this symbol, a parallelogram symbol we are using in order to represent the input as well as output, both the things. So parallelogram symbol is used to perform the input and output operation inside the flowchart. So whenever your input output means what? Reading the values or writing the values. Reading the values from the keyboard and writing the values back to the monitor, back to the computer screen. So whenever you perform the read operation inside that parallelogram, where exactly you are reading that value. So definitely whenever you are reading a value, you need to store that value inside a variable, already we said, isn't it? Whenever we are reading a value inside the algorithm or inside the program, we need to store that value inside a variable. Okay, so how exactly we show that one, in the sense inside that parallelogram, take the read statement. Okay, read followed by, in parenthesis you can put what variable, in what variable you are reading that value. So we are saying read a and b values inside the algorithm. When we are performing the sum of two numbers, we are saying read a and b values. So read a, read b. Likewise, we can put two parallelograms inside our flowchart. Then suppose if you are outputting, if you are printing some value on the output screen, then use the same parallelogram but with write statement in that one. Okay, now we are performing the writing operation, so use the write statement inside that parallelogram. Hopefully you understood. So this is how we perform the input output operation or input output statement inside your flowchart. Okay, then we have the module call statement. It is quite complex, or it is quite confusing for you people at this point if I make the understanding over here. So that's the reason this module call statement will put this on hold till your third unit. Okay, because inside your third unit we will discuss the concept of functions. A function is exactly a module in C programming. So whenever you're calling a function from the main function, or whenever you are subdividing your actual problem into smaller modules. So when exactly we do that subdivision, in the sense when your actual problem will become too complex to handle as a single entity. Okay, if you feel that your actual problem is too complex to handle as a single entity, at that point what we do, we do the subdivision of the problem. We'll subdivide the actual problem into smaller modules, and we call each of these modules as a function in C language. So to represent that functions, we use this module call. Okay, more clarity, more understanding about this module calls we will get in third unit. Till that point you just read it like a description, and try to understand whatever you can. Okay, so the next concept, yes, here this is how we show how we are representing a module call, in the sense inside a rectangle we put two vertical bars. So this is exactly your module call statement. Over here you can see this is a rectangle, and we kept two vertical bars inside it, two vertical bars. So like this, a rectangle, and at the end we will put two vertical bars like this, one vertical bar this side and one vertical bar this side. So this is your module call statement. Whenever you have a module call statement inside your actual flowchart, so this is my flowchart. See, over here I have started, then I'm using the parallelogram, I'm reading A, I'm reading B, I'm reading C, then I'm calculating the average by calling that. Calculating the average I have separated from the main flowchart by calling this module. Over here this represents the module, isn't it? From here to here this is a module call symbol. So whenever you have a module call symbol, there will be a separate flow chart with that same module call name. Okay, a module call will have a label, like over here avrg is the label for this module call. So immediately whenever you see the module call inside the flow chart, what you have to do, you have to look for a sub flow chart. Okay, a sub flow chart of that same label. So over here our label is avrg, so we are looking for avrg subflow chart. You may have more number of module calls over here. So for each module call you will have a separate module, a separate flow chart, small flow chart. So what module call constitutes what flow chart, how we are going to differentiate, in the sense by using this label only. Hopefully you understood. So this sort of understanding is enough. And inside the module call, when you see there is no start, okay, when you are checking the subflow chart of that module call, there will be no start symbol for that one. Instead, what we kept over here, we kept the label and the same parameters we are passing over here. Then there will be no stop terminal for that sub flow chart. There will be a return. Why we kept return means because this is not the end point. This is not the end point. And why we did not put start over here, in the sense because this is not the starting point. Okay, how the control will flow over here, in the sense the control will start from here. All are sequential symbols, so it will reach till this point, module call, and once it sees this module call, it will come over here like this. Then it will execute all these things, and again it will come back over here because it is saying return. So it will come back over here where it is, where it gets separated. It will come back to that location, and again it will continue and it will stop over here. It will start at this point and stop at this point. In between, it will consider this subflow chart as well. Hopefully you understood. So the next thing, the compound statement inside your control structure. Whenever we are going for a control structure, like we said, our control structures, we have simple if else, nested if. Okay, there are many different control structures we have. Switch statement, three loops, your while loop, do while loop, for loop. All these we call them as control structures. So whenever there is a control structure, or whenever you want to create a new scope inside your program, we have to go for block. isn't it? A block of statement. So that block, we call it as a compound statement because it is not a single statement. Inside a block, what exactly we are keeping? We are keeping a collection of statements. If this is my block, inside this block, what I am doing? I am keeping collection of statements. So all these collection, we call it as a compound statement because it is not a single statement, rather it is a collection of statements. So we call it as compound statement, and that compound statement we represent with the help of a rectangle, I mean dotted rectangle in our flow chart. Okay, a broken line rectangle or dotted rectangle, we call it as a broken line because you can see there is a break. Okay, between the line when you are drawing, there is a breaking. Okay, so because of that reason we are calling it as a broken line rectangle is used to represent a compound symbol inside our flowchart. Many times we use this compound statement. Don't you bother about it. You will get the full understanding, clear understanding about what exactly a block of code and how this block of code can be represented with the help of a compound statement, a broken line rectangle inside the flowchart. We will understand. Okay. So then we have, after this sequence statement, again see over here there is a mistake in the, yes, this we discussed. So all these we said sequential symbols. Inside sequential symbols only we have all these: null statement, assignment statement, input output statement, module call statement, compound statement. Then B, decision making or conditional statements. But over here it is again saying A only. Selection statements, it is saying A only. It is not A, it is B. Okay, B is selection statement. Unlike sequential statements or sequence statements, conditional statements can cause the flow of program to change. Already I gave this explanation. Sequential flow will put some condition. If that condition is true, we'll select one possible path, and if that condition is false, we'll select another possible path. Likewise, what will happen? The flow of program will change. Okay, the flow of program will change, the flow of control will change. Okay, so what is making the flow of control to change? In the sense, our conditional statements, our selection statements. Okay, so they allow the execution of selected statements and skipping of other statements. So skipping of other statements, why I am saying skipping of other statements? In the sense, because the flow is entering this condition in this direction, okay, from the top, and when it is checking this condition, and if the condition is true, it is going in this direction, and if the condition is false, it is going in this direction. In both the cases, whenever the condition is true, what is happening? The flow is going in this direction. So when it is going in this direction, ultimately what it is doing? It is skipping the false path, isn't it? It is not taking the false path, so it is skipping the false path. And when the condition goes to false, when the condition becomes false, it is taking the false path, so it is skipping the true path. Likewise, you have to remember. So why we are saying skipping of statement whenever we are talking about decision making statements, selection statements, or conditional statements? In the sense, there is always a possibility of skipping some path or some statements, okay, inside our program. Because of that reason only we are saying conditional flow or selection statements or decision making statements will make some statements, some selected statements will be selected, and other statements will be skipped. Okay, so there are, again, in this selection statements we have two different types. One is two-way selection and the other one is multi-way selection. So two-way selection, yeah, already whatever I have explained over here, will be having one condition, because based on that condition we are having only two possible paths. Either we can go in the true way or we can go in the false way. So like this, over here you can understand this thing very clearly, how the control is entering over here from the top. Okay, inside our flowchart also we will represent like this only. Okay, the control is entering from the top, and whenever you have the condition, you have to use this diamond symbol To represent the condition inside the flowchart, two-way selection statement condition, you have to use a diamond symbol. So if that condition is true, so here always the true statements or the true action we have to represent at the right hand side, and the false actions, okay, false action we have to represent at the left hand side. Remember this one. So that's the reason true will come, T will represent true statement, and the respective logic whatever we are going to put, we need to put the true action, and false will cause the control to move in this direction, and whatever logic you want to put over here, you have to put in the false action. You have to put the false action over here. So for our understanding, we'll take the example of casting vote again. So over here, what condition we will put? Age must be greater than or equals to, isn't it? Age must be, yeah, even if you are 18 years equal, you can cast your vote. So age must be greater than or equals to 18 years. Equals to 18 years. So this is my condition. So when the control will come over here, with what it will come? With age it will come. How the control will enter? With age the control will enter. Consider the age like 24 years. We are talking about a person, we are processing this conditional flow for a person with age 24. So the control will enter over here with age value as 24. So immediately it will check this condition. So what is age? Age we considered like 24. The person's age is 24. So 24 is greater than or equals to 18. Is it true or false? It is true, isn't it? When we are saying 24 is greater than or equals to 18, it is true. So what will happen? The control will go in this direction. The control will go in this direction, and here whatever logic processing we are doing, I mean whatever statements we are doing over here, we are keeping over here, will make in such a way, will put in such a way that we allow this person to cast the vote. Okay, so we'll simply print, let us assume we are printing a statement. So we simply print, you can cast the vote. You can cast the vote. You can cast the vote. Like this we can put one positive statement. Okay, consider another example. In this case, let us, the person's age is below 18 years. Like we are considering the person's age as like 15 years. Okay, we are considering the person's age as 15 years. Then again the control will enter. This time age value is 15. So 15 is greater than or equals to 18, I am saying. So again the condition is false. So immediately what will happen? The control will move in the false path. It will not go in the true path because the condition is not true. So it will move in the false path. So over here, false action, whatever action we are going to perform, we should not allow the person to cast his vote, isn't it? So, okay, printf we can put over here, or print stop. You cannot cast your vote. Stop. You cannot cast your vote. Cast your vote. Like this we can put one warning message. Hope you understood. So whenever the condition is true, the control is moving in the true path, and it is giving a positive message to the person. And whenever the person's age is below the 18 years, the control is moving in the false path, and it is giving a warning message. Because the person with 15 years age, he came to vote. So should we allow him to vote? No. We should give a warning message to him, and we should not allow him to vote. So that same thing we are doing in the false action. But when the person with a positive age, that is greater than 18 years, is approaching the voting booth, then he is allowed to vote. And after both the incidents, okay, after both the incidences, what is happening? They are meeting at the common point and they are stopping. Okay, they are meeting at a common point. See, even if you are going in the true path, you are meeting over here only. And either if you are going in the false path, in that case also you are meeting over here. Again, you are moving in this direction and you are stopping. So this is two-way selection statement because we have only two possible paths. Okay, we have only two possible paths, and from these two possible paths only we need to select any one path and we need to skip the other path. Because of this reason we call it as a two-way selection statement. And the next one is the multi-way selection statement. See, this example, it will explain a lot of things. This flow chart, it will explain a lot of things. So that's the reason we need to discuss about this flow chart. Okay, so the following flow chart reads an integer, and if the integer value is greater than 10, so what it is doing, if the integer value is greater than 10, subtract 10 and write the result. So whatever value you are reading, from that value, first it is comparing that value with 10. Okay, first it is comparing the value with 10. And if the value is greater than 10, what it will do? It will subtract the 10, same 10 value it will subtract from that number, and whatever result you will get, that result it will print. Okay, and if the value is lesser than 10, it does nothing. Okay, so over here, if the value is lesser than 10, it does nothing. This is very, very important. Does nothing. It does nothing. Okay, so how we have to read means, how we have to write this flowchart means. So first what we are doing, let us just write the algorithm first for this one. So first what we have to do, step 1, start. Step 1, start. Then step 2, declare the number. Declare declare number, and that number I'm taking a number. It is a single name. Declare a number. Okay, then step 3, what we have to do, as he said, compare that number. If a num is greater than 10, then what we have to do, a num equals to a num minus 10, because we have to subtract 10 from that number. A num equals to a num minus 10. Then print a num, isn't it? We need to print the a num also. Print a num. That's it. Otherwise what we do? Otherwise what we are doing? Do nothing. Otherwise do nothing. Then next step, step 4. What is step 4? Our actions are over, so stop. So this is the algorithm. For whatever problem they have given, how I am going to solve that problem means in this way. First I will start the algorithm, then I will declare a num, then I will read a num. I forgot to put that one. Step 3 will be read a num, then this will become step 4. So over here I am writing step 3. Okay, read a num. Okay, step 3 will be read a num. Step 4, we are comparing, we are doing the condition check. If at all a num is greater than 10, then what we are doing, a num equals to a num minus 1. We are subtracting a num from we are subtracting 10 from a num, and we are assigning the same value to a num. Then we are printing a num, printing the number. Then that's it. Here we are stopping. Otherwise do nothing. We are not doing anything. Stop. So this entire thing, how we represent in the sense, see over here. First start as it is. With the help of a terminal symbol, we are starting the, okay, with the help of terminal symbol, we are starting the flow chart. Then reading, here no declaration. When we are reading, we'll assume that the variable is already declared, the memory is already allocated. So directly reading. So when you are reading a num, when you are performing the read operation, it is an input operation. So for input output, what symbol we have to use? The parallelogram with read and write labels. So now we are reading. So I have taken a parallelogram with a num in it. Okay. Then we need to check the condition, because we need to check the enum value with 10, whether it is lesser than, greater than, how it is, isn't it? Because our actions, our further actions is completely purely dependent on our enum value. If it is greater than 10, we are subtracting 10 from it. So yes, do the comparison, I mean do the condition check using a rhombus, and inside it put the condition enum must be greater than 10. If this is true, if this is true, that means if enum value is greater than 10, yes, enum equals to enum minus 10. We are subtracting 10 from it. This is one statement. This is one statement. And after calculating, after subtracting 10, again what we have to do? Writes the result. Writes the result. So we are writing the result. Write new num. Okay. Over here we said new num, or you can even keep enum over here. Okay. So another variable we have taken, and that another variable we are printing. Write new num. And when we are performing the write operation, again how we are doing? With the help of parallelogram only, because output operation we need to perform with the help of parallelogram. And both of these symbols, they must be enclosed when the condition is true. Okay, so both of these symbols, they must be enclosed when the condition is true, and inside the two-way selection only one statement is allowed. Either in the true path or in the false path, only one statement is allowed. You can't put more than one statement. So over here, how many statements we have kept indirectly? Two statements. So for that, in order to combine those two statements together, and in order to make those two statements as a single statement, we have used the compound statement. As you can see, this I mean broken line rectangle, this is broken line rectangle, it will represent a compound statement. So what is the purpose of compound statement? It will combine, it will collect multiple statement, and it will make that multiple statement as a single statement. So now this is my single statement. Okay, in the true part we are executing only one compound statement, and after that we are reaching at this point. Okay, in the false path what we are doing? In the false path what we are doing? We are not doing anything. So this is your null statement. This is your null statement, as we have not represented anything over here. Okay, because our problem statement itself saying when the value of enum is less than 10, do nothing. Do nothing. Does nothing. That's why I kept this thing inside double quotations. Okay, when the value of 10 is less than when the value of num is less than 10, simply does nothing. So that's the reason we kept a null statement over here. Null statement in the sense we don't put any symbol, it is just a flow line. And again, after performing nothing also, your control is reaching at that same point, and they both together going towards stop. Hopefully you understood this flowchart. There is nothing in this flowchart. It is a very basic level of flowchart, and for that flowchart also I have written the algorithm, and that algorithm I have converted into flowchart, and I have shown you how you can convert an algorithm into a flowchart. It is very easy. So simply you have to make you have to focus on the type of symbol that you need to use. So whenever we are saying start, ultimately we have to use the terminal. Whenever we are reading and writing input output, we need to use the parallelogram. Whenever we are going for a two-way selection, we need to use two-way selection in the sense there will be a condition. And if you are making a statement based on condition, it is a conditional statement. So if it is a conditional statement, definitely you have to use a rhombus. If you want to put inside the controls structure, if you want to put more than one statement as a single statement, club those statements using a compound statement. Okay, so over here we are performing the assignment operation. Enum is equals to enum minus 10. It is some kind of assignment, this arrow mark. So we used a rectangular symbol over here. Okay, then write, it is an output operation, so parallelogram. Again stop, it is with the help of a terminal, like this, you remember. All standardized symbols, you need to work on them, you need to read about them, you need to remember them, because they are very much helpful whenever you are going for flowchart. Next is the multi-way selection. So in our previous case we have seen only single two-way selection statements. Now a multi-way selection statement over here. So because a condition will give only two possible results, that is either true or false, only two possible paths. But when we are talking about a multi-way selection, it should have multiple paths. So your condition will not give multiple paths. It will give a maximum of only two paths. But whereas an expression, when you take an expression, that expression based on the input variables, it can give n number of paths to you. It can give n number of paths. So over here, this expression, whenever you evaluate, expression means you need to evaluate. In order to get the final value, you need to evaluate. This logic we know from the mathematics, isn't it? Whenever you have an expression, you will get a single value if you evaluate that expression. Okay, so if this expression you evaluate, if you got the value, the output as m, let us assume, then we'll go in this path and we perform m actions, suitable actions for m output, m result. So if this expression is giving n as value, final value, then we go in this direction and we perform the suitable actions, n actions. Okay, same thing in this path, in this path. But whatever actions the control is performing, because the control will enter over here, evaluates this, and if the result is m, it will go in this direction and perform this action. And if the result is n, it will go in this direction and perform this action. Like this. You will have multiple possible paths over here. You will have multiple possible paths over here. In every case, whenever the expression's output, expression's result is becoming m, what you are doing? You are skipping NOP, isn't it? And whenever the expression's result is becoming n, you are skipping other three. Likewise, in every other case, what is happening? Only the selected action will be performed and the rest of all the actions will be skipped. Hopefully you understood. This is the concept of multi-way selection, and over here we'll not put the condition, we'll put the expression. So there is an example. So based on the grade, okay, design a flowchart for a program that reads one character representing a letter grade and prints the corresponding grade point average GPA. So based on the grade, we'll read the grade. If the grade is A, his GPA will be 4.0. If the grade is B, his GPA will be 3.0. Likewise. So for this, how we have done? We are starting at this point, then we are reading the grade. So based on that grade, if the grade is A, we'll move in this direction. And we'll make the GPA as 4.0 and we'll print that GPA. And whenever we are printing the GPA, again we are using parallelogram. Whenever we are reading the GPA, whenever we are reading the grade, we are using the parallelogram. The concept is very simple. We are reading the grade in English alphabets like A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, and based on that grade, we are assigning the GPA value. And we are printing that GPA value. And finally, we are stopping. So if the grade is A, your GPA will become 4.0 and that 4.0 you are printing. If the grade is B, your GPA will become 3.0 and that 3.0 you are printing. If the grade is C, your GPA will become 2.0 and the 2.0 we are printing. Similarly, if the grade is F, your GPA will become 0.0 and that GPA we are printing and we are stopping. Very simple. Multi-way selection, because whenever you are framing the condition, whenever you are framing the expression over here, you have multiple possible paths over here, as you can see. Either you can go in this direction, this, likewise. You can have n possible paths. Based on your requirement, you can have n possible paths. There is no limitation on that when we are talking about multi-way selection. Okay. Then we have the looping statements. Okay, let's not talk about looping statements in this session. We'll put these looping statements for our upcoming sessions, because it is already 50 minutes over. So, okay, try to complete the assignments. Very less students, very less views I'm getting for my lecture. Very less students are watching and very less students are submitting their assignments for after the lecture. And accordingly, they will get the attendance, I'm telling you. Okay, so definitely you will lose your attendance if you don't attend my lecture and if you don't complete the assignment for the attendance purpose. Okay, both the things are important. You need to watch the lecture, you need to prepare the notes, and you need to complete the assignment. Then only you will get the attendance. And at the time of examination, first meet, second meet, don't just come to me and don't just rush for the attendance. Okay, you will not get the attendance, and you know it very well. Of course, last sem, because of that pandemic, maybe they have not kept that restriction on attendance, but this sem they are very particular about it. Okay, your department, your HOD, your management, they are very particular about the attendance. So be particular about your attendance as well. Kindly fulfill all the requirements, whatever we are asking you to get the attendance. Fulfill all the requirements and get the attendance, proper attendance for every lecture. Okay, so at the end you may be thinking that I will put medical certificate, I will put this one, that one. Nothing, no excuse will be considered. There are students in your seniors, go to your second year, go to your third year, because of the attendance they are lagging in credits, because they have not written the internals. And if they have not written the internals, their internal marks will be very less. And if the internal marks will be less, in the sense, there is less possibility of scoring the uh, marks in your external, isn't it? Now for you people, you need to clear both the things, internals as well as externals. And if you don't clear internal, you will lose credits. So if you lose the credits, there is a possibility of getting detained. Okay, there are many such students, because of attendance they are losing the credits. Okay, so just don't make yourself into that problem. uh, okay, thank you very much, students.